but I'm glad that you've had me. So hopefully you can pick up a few tips. It's a new sport and more and more people are getting into it, and it's so amazing that so many people have turned up today, so thanks. I thought before we jump in the water, I'll take you through a few little pointers with gear, and if you have questions, let me know. The main ones I wanted to talk about was probably paddle size and paddle length. And then we'll talk about mast placement, board type, and I'm sure you guys will have a few questions. So I'm a bit taller, and like my deep squat isn't really strong. So I'll usually keep my paddle a little bit taller than my head. And what I find is that when you're paddling up, the first few strokes are kind of just getting your rhythm, your momentum. But when you're up, you still want to be able to push through. So you start to break the surface tension, get the board out of the water. A longer paddle just lets you engage the foil for a little bit longer without having to do a really big deep squat. So if you have the opportunity to check or make your paddle a little bit longer, especially when you're starting to learn, you want to go a bit longer. If you don't come from a SUP background, probably go for a bigger head, not the small head. This is 85. I was a SUP paddler first, and I like high cadence, so lots of strokes, not big, deep, full strokes. And that'll depend on your board as well. So a shorter board, you need to move it quicker, so a little head is better for that. But if you have a big long board, which is where a lot of the sport's going, I find that it's okay to have a big head on your paddle. So yeah, they're probably the two main things with the paddle. If there's anything else, just point it out. Stiffness is really important, but it is a trade-off because you've got new muscles in your shoulders around here that you don't want to damage. So again, when you're starting and if you haven't done a lot of paddling, probably go for a slightly smaller head. Just be cautious of your body and that kind of thing. So and then I don't know if I mentioned stiffness. So yeah, you don't want to I think stiff is really good because what you're kind of doing is you're not pulling the paddle past yourself. You're putting your paddle, I'm sure you guys are European, there's going to be paddlers amongst you, but it's engaging the paddle and moving yourself past the paddle, not standing on the board and flicking the paddle this way. So it's, yeah, you've got to kind of imagine that this doesn't move and you're moving beyond the paddle. And then you might notice that when I'm doing it, I'm really far forward and almost flicking. And then some other people have more of it kind of like this. And I think it's personal preference. You'll find little nuances, like there's no pretty way to do this, I find. It's like nothing too graceful. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very front like this. Other people, they're kind of flicking kind of like this. And maybe it's a little bit of a combination. You start with this, and come to this. So I think the best thing to do is probably jump in the water with the boards and just 5-10 minutes, you paddle around, just get a feel for the balance and then switch. And the other thing is really try to activate your glutes before you do paddle up. So I reckon that these muscles, just kind of triggering those big muscles is really important before you're going to throw yourself into it. Then regarding the boards, I guess the design of the boards, especially with downwind now, and everyone will notice from Instagram and watching all the guys out there, water in flat water or in ocean, there seems to be a tendency for narrow. Wide is always stable, but you will get used to a narrow board very quickly, and the narrow boards, they just seem to kind of not displace, but move through the water a little bit more efficiently, which will then engage the foil, which then means that you're going to get up a little bit easier. So even though it might seem a little bit tippier, I would always be recommending something, maybe 20 inches to start, 22 if you can. and don't be afraid of something that's like 7.5 or 7.6 in length. If you're starting, it's definitely not a hard and fast rule, but a well-balanced board like that is usually kind of where you want to start. So if you are paddling up and if you go behind the boat and you start to feel the foil engaged and you actually get a bit of foiling time on this, nose down.
Sorry, where do you hold it exactly?
Oh, I just kind of hold just in the front here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, once you're up, it's the same as all the other disciplines. Too far back, your nose is down. Too far forward, your nose is up. And when you're learning, it's probably a wrong thing to say, but it'll at least give you an idea of the lift. Is having it a little bit forward is probably not such a bad thing. And we're talking, we're talking half a centimetre. They're not big moves. Like if you found that it was lifting, you don't want to drop this back, 2 centimetres, 3 centimetres. It's just shuffling a little bit. And I always find that it's a good thing to put a tool in your pocket so you can flip your board and just move it and play with that mast position. It's really important. So yeah, I reckon the best thing is just to get in the water, and I'm happy to jump on other people's boards and maybe paddle them up and see if they're in the right position if you want.
How long do you practice? You told me before you practiced for 6 months, huh?
Well, I came from doing the downwind, so when the wind's blowing, it's not really even training, you're just going to go have surf kind of thing. But yeah, it's repetition. So I would say it's kind of 6 months as much as you can, but short sessions, because we call it gassing yourself. You get so tired, you notice that you probably only got, when you're starting, 4 or 5 paddle ups in you, and then your technique just goes off a cliff. So I think maybe it's 2 half-an-hour sessions a day, as long as you're enjoying it, or 30 minutes every day that you can get out there. It's just repetition frequently to get good, not 1 session a week. And even if you're not downwinding you leave downwinding for a week and your technique drops off. So it's just really important to be thorough with it. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, otherwise we should go jump in the water.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
You can see there's like this seam from the middle there. That's where I connected it to blades.
Hello.